Good evening, and welcome to Navigating New York City's Passport for Nonprofits, hosted by the Jewish Community Council of Greater Coney Island's Nonprofit Help Desk. I am Tamara Kashecki. I am the Director of this, Discretionary Funding here at the GCC, GCI's, and PhD. Welcome this evening. Really great to have you all. Just letting everyone know that we are truly a help desk. So we do free live workshops like this one. We archive all of our workshops. Both the video and the slide deck can be available on our website at nphd.org, which you can find in the chat. We have a really robust and happening LinkedIn community, so please feel free to join us there and interact. And you are able to request expert support in a variety of topics. We cover fundraising, promotion, legal, IT, leadership, not just discretionary funding and applications, though we do that as well, obviously. And so if you need one-on-one assistance with something, you can go to nphd.org and get some free help. So tonight is Navigating NYC Passport for Nonprofits. We have one more webinar before we kind of take a break for the summer, and that's coming up on June 17th. It'll be just sort of an overview of the New York City Council discretionary expense funding, how to contract reimbursement. So if you have an existing contract or award, that's a really great one to attend. And so hopefully, you can feel free to register for that as well. This evening, we are really excited to have one of our co-sponsors offices here, which is Councilmember Farah Lewis from District 45, and we have Daniel from Councilmember Lewis's office.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction. I realize this computer, I don't have a camera access on here. It's my work computer, so I apologize for that. But I'm here to bring greetings on behalf of Councilmember Farah Lewis, who is co-chair of the Brooklyn delegation and has been a tireless advocate for nonprofits in the city even before she was elected. We're really appreciative that you're all able to join this forum. We know that many nonprofits, both new and old, have been facing with a lot of new questions about city procurement in general. This program that the Nonprofit Help Desk has facilitated covers a lot of different topics, especially with procurement. Our last session was with DYCD, which is a funder for many of the different local initiatives that we have in many council districts across the city. And we're really excited that today, this in-depth forum on Passport, which has had a rocky start with the administration, and which the council member has tirelessly advocated for more resources on getting our nonprofits trained on how to use this software to connect our communities with the resources that your organizations all provide. So on behalf of Councilmember Farah Lewis, I really want to extend our thanks and our gratitude to Tamara Kashecki for presenting tonight, to Rabbi Wiener for his leadership of the Jewish Community Council of Greater Coney Island. And we really hope that you all have a lot of information to take away from tonight's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you again to Councilmember Lewis. We're always excited when you guys are working with us and partnering. This evening's also co-sponsored by Councilmember Ina Vertikoff, District 48 in Brooklyn, and she has a little bit of a district emergency tonight, so they're not going to be joining us, but I know she sends her greetings to everyone. We here at the Nonprofit Help Desk are sponsored ourselves by discretionary funding from council members, so we always like to give them a shout out, including Speaker Adams, council members Brannan, Hudson, Lewis and Vernikov, as well as Joseph and Zhang. So thank you to everyone who sponsors us. We really appreciate it. So jumping right in this evening as we go into looking at an overview of Passport, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll take a couple of different spots to stop and ask questions. If you want to unmute and raise your hand, we'll talk about that as we go along. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a long PowerPoint because there's so many things you can do with Passport. So hang in there. We're going to cover how to get your New York City ID registration done, how to sign up for a Passport account if you don't already have one, what the vendor roles are, what those different authorizations are for vendor roles within Passport, Really quick overview of HHS pre-qualification. We just did a webinar on that with the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. So you can get in-depth for HHS pre-qual on that webinar. And then we'll just kind of look at really quickly, how do you search Passport for additional contracting opportunities or RFXs, and then how do you respond to them? I do want to make note that when you are working in Passport, it's not really designed to be accessed on your phone. There's no app for it. So it's best to use a laptop or some kind of computer when you need to do your work in Passport. And also, and we can put this link in the chat, but Passport does have a resources library. So that's, again, through the Mayor's Office of Contract Services, or also known as MOCS. And we'll put a link into the chat, but they have various, they also have videos and some documents that can help you, like training manuals. Okay, so overview for Passport. It is the New York City centralized procurement portal. So they use it for contracting, they use it for pre-qualification, discretionary funding. Pre-qualification goes through there unless you are solely getting your contract from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs. I always like to put that out there as a little disclaimer. And you can find this here. Again, the link's in the chat at nyc.gov/site/mock/passport/about-passport -passport.page. So it's in the chat. So this is where you would go to log in. It's also where you would go if you don't have an NYC ID. So we're going to start with NYC ID. So on this page, you would click register an NYC ID if you don't already have one. Okay. And you're going to log in there. You're going to set up an email, make it your work email, make it an email that's checked regularly. And then you're going to click to create an account, and you will get a validation email to that email. So pretty basic on that. But you must have a nyc.id in order to work into Passport. So now once you have your NYC ID, if you don't already have, well, if you just got your NYC ID, you probably don't already have a passport. But if you don't have a passport, you would go again to that same page that we did here, this passport page. And you're going to have to log in with your NYC ID and create an account, and then click register. What's going to happen is that's going to send it to MOCS, again, which is the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. And once it goes to MOCS and that you've submitted a vendor account request, they're going to go through it. They're going to review it. Oops, I feel like I went the wrong way. And then they're going to review your Passport account, and they're going to notify you by email once it's approved. So again, make sure you're using an email that you're checking regularly, that you are have access to fully. Okay. Does anybody real quick have any questions on those two registrations and setups? Again, feel free to put them in the chat, either to everybody or to just myself. That's fine. Now within Passport, there
but the chat is disabled.
The chat is disabled. Okay, Pelia, can you fix that? We'll work on that. And we'll come back to you. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going to keep plowing ahead, and then we'll come back to making sure the chat works. So within the vendor administration roles, they have multiple roles. You want to have at least 2 vendor admins, just in case for some reason one person can't log in. If your organization is able to have 2, that's really helpful. The vendor administrators do pretty much everything, right? So they're going to update your Passport account. They're going to make sure that you're going through and maintaining your vendor profile, including your pre-qualification, which is really important. They can add new users, remove users who no longer need access. They assign the roles to other people within your organization. So the vendor admins are really important. If you're the executive director, or if you're have a title that grants administrator or something, this might be part of your role, but the vendor admin is very important. So they do recommend, the MOX recommends that you have at least 2 people assigned to the vendor admin role, like we said. If you're having any trouble, I'll drop in the link later for the MOX service desk. And again, everybody who needs to be a vendor admin is going to have that NYC.ID. And then we're going to assign a bunch of roles, right? So you need 4 roles in order to perform all the tasks in Passport. So a vendor admin, signatory, vendor contract signatory, and procurement L2, which I'll explain. And people can be assigned to multiple roles rather, that's fine. So once you log into Passport, I'm working off 2 laptops. Here we go. So you'll see up here, this says profile. You would log into profile and you can see where it says vendor profile. You would click on that. And then you would be able to go through and add the contacts tab on the left over here and start adding the people that you need to add. Right, so each person, first name, last name, their email, make sure again it's a work email that they're going to be checking regularly, save and close, super simple. You can assign them, or you can assign them within their profile what their roles are, like we just talked about, and we'll go over what those roles do. And then you would just save and refresh. So I'm going to take a bit of a pause there. The chat should be working. If anybody has any questions that they want to put in the chat, or you are more than welcome to do a raise hand feature. Okay, keep going. So now I talked about how each vendor role has different authorizations. So the vendor admin, again, can do pretty much everything. And then you're going to need a contributor, a signatory, but you really need a vendor admin, signatory, somebody to do financials, and somebody to do the vendor contracts. So when you're enrolling, it's your vendor admin doing everything. Your basic account management tasks, again, like who's making edits and things like that. And then we go into who can respond to an RFX, and we'll talk more about that in a little while. Pre-qualification, super important, has to be either the vendor admin or procurement level 2. And when you're doing contracts or other financial tasks, again, it's either a vendor admin or financials. It could be financials level 2. So really your vendor admin's gonna probably do a lot of these things. Those are the different roles within Passport and the different authorizations. Again, it depends upon the size of your organization, how many people might have access to your Passport. A large organization, could have a half dozen people easily, and they're going to have very specific things. If someone's really just involved for financials, well, then they're going to be over here, right? They're probably going to be a financial level 1 or financial level 2, and that's what they're going to be doing. My mouse does not want to work. Sorry about that. And again, if you're the executive director or someone who's strictly within your job role that you're going to be handling Passport, you should be the vendor admin. So before we go on to pre-qualification, I know I'm going kind of fast. Are there any questions or anybody you want to raise hand or put it in the chat? The chat should be working. If it's not working for you, let me know. Okay, great. So, there used to be a portal called HHS Accelerator that was retired last year, but the HHS name for pre-qualification sort of stayed on as a legacy name. It doesn't really stand for anything anymore. But everybody needs to go through some kind of pre-qualification. Now, if you were only receiving discretionary fundings and you do not have a contract with the city to provide services and you don't want one, there's a shorter version of pre-qualification, and you should check out our previous webinar on that. If you want to get contracts or you already have contracts, then for sure you're going to have to go through this slightly bigger one. So I'm going to go for the bigger one tonight. But again, if you're only receiving discretionary funding and you have no interest in pursuing a contract with the city to provide services, or you don't have a current contract, then you could do this shorter version that we talked about in the other webinar. So in order to do, like we said, in vendor authorizations, in order to do HHS pre-qualification, you need to either be assigned the vendor admin role or the vendor procurement level 2 role. So those are the only 2 roles that will let you work through the pre-qual. So once you're signed in under one of those 2 roles, you're going to go ahead and you're going to click on the upper part that says RFX. And that drop down is going to come down and you're going to look at the 3rd line here, right? Working on pre-qualification. And then over here, you're going to see there's a keyword, so you can put in HHS. It says accelerator. I think you can just put in pre-qualification now. And it's going to pop up and you can click on it. Let's see if my mouse is working. Down over here on the left. So and you'll be able to click on that and start working on your pre-qual. So now you're going to see that there are 3 tabs, but on the left. So there's the overview, there's the questionnaires, and there's documents. So we'll start with the overview. So you're just going to basically look into your organization's information and confirm if it's correct. Make sure all the fields are complete. You go to the questionnaire, and again, you're going to make sure all the fields are complete. And there's going to be multiple tabs in that questionnaire. So you're going to go through, the first one is going to be asking what your corporate structure is. Now, since we're tonight doing Navigating Passport for Nonprofits, I assume everyone here is a nonprofit. Make sure that that's what you click on the drop down. Don't click for-profit. It's going to have a very different set of questions. Not to mention it will make you not eligible for discretionary funding. So make sure you're selecting nonprofit as your corporate structure if you are indeed a nonprofit. And once you've done that, you'll be able to start answering the questions in the questionnaire. So I'm not going to go over every single question. We're going to go to documents now. We're going to be able to upload a few different documents that are required, including usually for a nonprofit, it's your IRS 990, your New York State Chart 500, your financial statement. Those are really important. It's also going to require that you have a conflict of interest policy. If you don't have one, your board will need to adopt one, so that can also be uploaded. Now, which financial documents you need to submit to pre-qualification depends upon your organization's budget size. So if your revenue is under 25,000, you're going to have to put in your CHAR 500. If you're between 25,000 and 250, CHAR 500, which is a New York State filing, and your IRS form. If you're between 250 and $1 million, CHAR 500 IRS form and a CPA reviewed report. And if you're over $1 million, you're going to do the CHAR 500, the 990, and instead of the CPA report, you're going to have an audit. If you were exempt from filing with the Charities Bureau, which is determined by the state, you would have to give them an exemption letter and your 12-month financial statement. Any questions on that so far? Awesome. So we're going to go into what it means to start searching for RFX opportunities. So RFX opportunities, this has nothing to do with discretionary funding. These are when the city posts solicitations, and they could be a request for information, which is an RFI, They could be a request for proposals, which is essentially a grant application or a grant or a contract application, or it can be an invitation to bid. I haven't seen, well, no, I'm going to take that back. It could be an invitation to bid. I was going to say those are mostly for profit, but you do see nonprofits bidding on them. So there's three different types of things they'll put in there that asking for information. So again, you're staying in Passport, you're using the procurement navigator, and you can search opportunities by a keyword, by the agency, by the type of work that they do. You don't have to have an account in Passport to access the procurement navigator. That's public. Anybody can go through that, which you can find on that Passport page without logging in. If you do log in, you might be able to see some RFX that they think are particularly well suited for your organization based on your pre-qualification list. So let's assume this is public. This is anybody can browse this publicly. Again, keywords. You could look at the agency if there's a particular agency that you think would be a really good fit for you. That's great. And you could see like here, this is just the first one that popped up. The fire department in Staten Island and Brooklyn needs on-call plumbing services. I doubt anybody here provides on-call plumbing services, but again, Passport's for both nonprofits and for-profits, and that's going to be done by sealed bid, so invitation to bid. That's just one that popped up when I made this slide. So if you want to respond to an RFX, which means that you're going to submit an application, again, think about which vendor roles you have with your organization and who should be logging in. So in this case, it could be a vendor admin, vendor procurement level 1, or a vendor procurement level 2. Oftentimes, once you submit, oh, I'm sorry, let me back up because there's another slide here. So there's a few different steps. So it says study the RFX. So read through it, see if it's a good fit, see if there's a match between what they're looking to contract for and what kind of services your organization can offer and can provide. Do you have the capacity for what they're looking for? And make sure you're giving yourself enough time to answer. A lot of times, you'll have to do what's called acknowledging the RFX, which is basically like an intent to apply, intent to submit a response. The agency wants to know who's interested. And then you would be able to prepare your application and submit it. So again, this is like, I just wanted to show this. So if you're looking at a particular RFX, and here it's going to say, you want to participate, and then you would click, I acknowledge receipt. So it's just really important that if that's a step that you do it, and that usually has an earlier due date than the application itself. So there's sort of like 2 due dates often on those things. If you want, again, you will respond, you won't respond. I don't know anybody who clicks they're not going to respond, but okay. That's okay. And then you would submit that. So any questions on that part? Again, I'm just going to kind of keep taking time to see if there's any questions. If anybody wants to unmute, you're welcome to do so. Okay. All right, so preparing an RFX response really means preparing your application. And again, you're going to do this within Passport. There's documents that you can download. You can download the RFP, you can download the guidelines. Some of these things you might want to prepare offline. I know I myself usually write all my narratives and my budgets offline, and then we just upload them when they're ready to go. So you're going to be clicking on Manage Responses. There's a pencil icon over there by the number 2 down at the bottom. And that's what will allow you to get in there and put in a name and a description if necessary. And that's how you're going to open the application. So this is where, again, number 3 is where you're going to give it a name, because proposal number 1, or maybe it's going to be your organization's name and responding to within, sometimes with an RFP, there's different neighborhoods or different pieces. etc. So you're going to be able to fill this out here. Again, click save. And then it's going to allow you into that application. And there's going to be numerous tabs. So again, a questionnaire tab, a documents tab where you're doing uploading, an item tab, LL34 compliance tab. It's not that scary. It's just the digital version of New York City's doing business data form. Not a big deal. We're not going to cover subcontractors and MWBE requirements tab tonight. I don't see those as much with nonprofits, but we can certainly answer questions on them if they're helpful. But those first 4 tabs are where you're going to see most of your questions. So once you log into the questionnaire, access questionnaire, you can just going to go through those step by step for whatever that RFP is. Depending upon who the agency is, you know, they change the questions, they change the setup of it. So you're just going to have to go through those one by one. Make sure that you're clicking through the affirmations and clicking save. That's really important. Just every time you're going to go to another page in Passport, I always click save and then I click save and close. I just like to double check myself there, just in case. It seems like a wise thing to do. It's sort of like saving your work on every page, really important. Okay, to go through the documents page, and again, this is going to differ on which documents you need to upload. Make sure you're looking at the RFX guidelines, and you're just going to, you know, go through and upload them one at a time. Every time you upload a document, make sure you are clicking save and then save and close. So it's all through managed documents. I think it's pretty straightforward in that section. The next section we get to is the item tab. And this is where the agency identifies the required items for that contract. And so you can either complete it directly in the system, or it can be downloaded, then completed. So it could be different, an Excel budget, it could be a form that you need to sign. So make sure you're looking at those in advance. And again, if you're uploading something, click save, then click save and close. And you can go through the item tab. It's a little hard to see, but it says response, and then you just want to make sure you're getting all these things in here. Trying to get my cursor's a little stuck tonight, sorry. All these things in here. So you're always filling out, you know, if there's a price, or it's basically, this is how they're doing their budget in this example. And we talked about the LL34 compliance tab. This is the city's doing business data form. You should have in your HHS pre-qualification someone selected to be your LL34 contact. So you would be able to go in there and click all those boxes. And there it is. So they're saying, bring you through here on how to do the principal officers on your board and CEO, CFO, etc., or executive director. Okay, and you again are a nonprofit, you're never going to select an owner. Be very aware of that. Nonprofits do not have owners. So you want to be, you know, careful you don't have an owner listed, because you shouldn't. And this is where you can add the principal owner, but we're ignoring that. And then add the organization, which would be the organization you're applying for, and clicking save, then clicking save and close. And then once you have, you know, I'm not going to talk you through how to actually write an application. That's what we're here tonight. But once you've done all those pieces, eventually you'll be able to hit validate and submit. So that was a very long PowerPoint. And I like to leave room for lots of questions. So I'm going to, again, ask if anybody would like to raise their hand. If anybody wants to put something in the chat, we can talk about Passport, we can talk about pre-qualification, we can talk about discretionary funding. Wherever you and your organization might be at, please don't be shy. Does anyone here already have a discretionary contract that's in the works that they're having a challenge with maybe, or any other questions? Is the chat working for everybody? It's a very quiet group tonight. I'm more than happy to give you your half hour back, but I'm here. If anyone has any questions or challenges that they've hit using Passport or doing their applications, more than happy to answer them.
Hi there. I'm
Hi.
Diana. Thank you so much. The problem that I'm having is that I chose CIP insurance. And so those documents for broker certificate, disability insurance, and another one, I am not able to upload them. So I'm getting a blocking alert. So basically what I did was I contacted Marks this afternoon to see if they can resolve it, as well as my contract manager, because those are the only three that is required. What I'm saying is that once I submitted my budget and that CIP, it gives that blocking alert, which you can't go anywhere unless they fix it.
And I'm just going to drop in the help page for MOPS,
Okay.
just so everybody has it. And I'm also going to drop in the contact page for MOPS, again, just so everybody has it. Because those are two good places to be. So you're saying you need to upload your CIP, which is Central Insurance Program.
Well, the thing about it is that you can't upload the CIP, as you know. You can only select it in your budget, right? So you put it in your budget, but then, all those documents that it says required, and even though you've uploaded everything else from the Passport Vault and link it, you still can, and you're supposed to hit the submit button. I get a blocking alert. So when I go down, it says, please upload all the required documents. So obviously I can't do anything on my end because like I said, I opted in for the CIP insurance, which would cover all the, disability, workers' comp, etc.
So what I would do on your organization's letterhead is I would just do a one-pager that says we've opted into the CIP and it covers this date to this date, and I would upload that document where your insurance documents go. Did I lose you?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm just
No,
write a
it's fine.
one-pager to Marks indicating that I have opted in for the CIP insurance. Therefore, the disability, the brokers, and the other insurance would be covered by them. So obviously they would have to do something from that end. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, and I would just make sure that because I'm assuming you're responding to a contract request for DYCD, and so you're going to just want to put maybe the fiscal year that it's covering on that document.
Oh yes, sure, yes.
And that way
Well,
you have
that's a great
everything
help.
uploaded. The system doesn't doesn't think anything's missing, and it should let you submit.
Yeah, I'll do that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I
Sure.
did send them a ticket, but I'll also follow up with the thing on my agency letterhead.
Yep, and you can also loop in DYCD to that if you need to. You should have your program officers within DYCD.
I do, and I hate to say it, but unfortunately, I have not been able to contact the contract manager. So, yeah. So
Yep.
I'll rope in DYCD. I really didn't want to, but obviously I'm gonna have to because This is, it's coming to the end of the fiscal year and wanting the contract to be approved, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
It's a lot of time
Yep. No,
wasted
you definitely want to
already.
be execute. Yeah, good luck
Yeah.
with that. But I think that'll
Yeah.
help you at least be able to submit. And if they want something different, they'll come back and ask for it.
Yes, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure they would. But appreciate your input. Thanks.
Of course.
Mhm.
My pleasure. Does anybody else have any questions now that we've broken the question ice for the evening? You're welcome to put it in the chat. You're welcome to unmute and ask your question or raise your hand, whatever you're comfortable with. Is anybody else having a pain point or a challenge with a contract or with even getting registered in mocks or passport rather, sorry, or pre-qualification? Okay. Again, you can always rewatch this webinar, download this slide deck and all of our other resources at nphd.org, and we'll put that in the chat. If you need one-on-one assistance, you're welcome to go to that same website and request it. And if nobody has any more questions, I'll stay on for a couple more minutes once we stop the recording. But if you want to ask your question off camera, that's fine. Other than that, I'm going to say have a really wonderful Tuesday evening, and please check out our website and make sure that you're getting the resources you need. It's been a pleasure leading the webinar for you tonight. Thank you so much and have a great evening.